Better Humans, been a while. I've been out. Kids got sick, and then I've been feeling not great. I feel like this every winter, especially since moving to Austin. I get cedar fever pretty bad usually. And I think this year, no, F that. I know this year that I'm just going to not get it. I'm going to get a little weak here and there, get a little tired here and there. So I'll down regulate my activity, rest a little bit more, maybe take some naps here and there. And that's how I'm going to get through it. It does seem like every year it gets a little bit less severe. I mean, the second year hit me like a ton of bricks. The first year, ironically, I moved in October, went right through the season, nothing happened. And then the next year I was completely toast for like literally a month of my life was almost poof, gone. Now today, we're going to talk about how your entire life is built on things you've never seen or touched and why trust in the crowd is a dangerous mistake. I can go on Twitter here. I got a bunch of things. Now we all fall victim to this. We all see and hear things from the mainstream, or somebody tells us and they talk about it, and then we talk about it, and then we talk about it. It's like Chinese telephone over and over and over again. And then before you know it, the 10th person is hearing something completely different than the original. That's human nature for you, though. Our human biology is designed to be able to share stories as a way of educating and passing down information to the next generation. Because for the longest time, for most of the time, for literally the majority of human existence, and then primate evolution and all of our ancestors back in the day, there was no writing. There wasn't even language then, right? I won't get into that. Humans, Homo sapien sapien, the wise man in Latin, big brains, sharing stories, communication, language. Language is probably our greatest killer app ever. That's what really allowed for everything. But our brains are designed to talk with other humans and to believe things and to carry through those beliefs for very long periods of time, maybe forever. And even, you could say, strengthen those beliefs and really bulletproof them so that you're more likely to pass on that to the next generation, and it's strong and it's consistent. We have like recency bias, we have hindsight bias, we have consistency bias. Like there's every bias you can possibly imagine. But then the modern world showed up and people can put out information. It's not really verified or double checked, or there's not really any way to falsify it, which is a big thing in science. Basically, scientific fact has to be falsified for you to be able to call it fact. And if you look at everything going on in the world, from politics and the policies and the ridiculousness that they do, to COVID, to viruses, to this idea of transmissions and this, there's no falsifiability. So what it is some government agency reports some numbers, and then some news organization writes about it. And then somebody reads that article, and then they talk about it or create a YouTube video or podcast about it. And then somebody listens to that, and then they create a response podcast or video or an article. And then people talk about it. And then the information, goes. But who is out there asking whether the original source material of this thing that nobody has seen, and you know what I'm talking about when we're talking about the thing from 2020, the thing that literally there is not an isolated picture of it or a sample of it that you can point to and say, there it is. Most people don't understand this. Same thing with, I believe it's HIV or AIDS, maybe both of them. I don't remember which one. I think it's like HIV causes AIDS or doesn't. They don't actually have it isolated. And most of these things, I believe smallpox is the same thing. They don't actually have it isolated. Now, don't quote me on those exact ones because I'm fuzzy. I haven't read that book in a while, Dissolving Illusions, which talks about that more. But you can literally see publicly available requests for a sample of this virus, and they don't have it. It's pretty insane, actually. Consider in your life, because again, I want to pull this back to you. You, the individual, that you're here because you want to be better. You want to think better. You want to make more money. You want to have more sex. You want to look better naked. You want all the base things that all humans want. And then this world that isn't really a world, right? This online world or this world of information and ideas or this world of politics. Think about politics. What is politics? Can you see politics? No, you see people that talk about things and you see ideas that people pass back and forth, and then they do things, then they write like tangible bills and laws, and then nobody tracks whether they're effective or not. And then we go back to politics, which is just ideas talking. It's this metaphysical world. It doesn't exist. That's what most of this virus mania nonsense is. And I won't even get into terrain theory and stuff. Money is another example of that. Money is mostly a belief system because if everybody decided it wasn't worth anything, poof like that, it wouldn't be worth anything. And we've seen this throughout history with literally hundreds of currencies that have failed and many examples of extreme hyperinflation. I mean, we've even had hyperinflation in America during the Civil War. I think greenbacks was one of them. The continent, I think it was called the Continental, actually, was a currency that hyperinflated, because what the government did during wartime is they made a bunch of these paper notes, and then people kind of used them, and they over time realized this isn't really worth anything. And then over time, people didn't want them. And then so you needed to give somebody more for their goods and services. And then eventually nobody wants it, and it collapses. Just like Weimar Republic in Germany, hyperinflation, which was actually what paved the way for Hitler. A lot of parallels to history if you look at what's going on in America, I will say. But like, again, for you believe things you've never seen or verified for yourself. And I was at dinner last night. Let me tell you a little quick story, all right? I got to get better at my storytelling, they say. They say you have to communicate through stories. And I don't like talking about myself, so it's whatever. Let's do it. We were at dinner at a fancy steakhouse, actually. I was severely disappointed, by the way, but that's not even part of the story. And Allison was talking to a couple that we met online that we followed for years, and we finally got to meet in person, so that was cool. So we had dinner. It was great. Good conversations. And she was talking about how like the new variant doesn't do this or doesn't do that or whatever. Things that you could say the FDA said, the CDC said, whatever. And then I asked her, I said, do you see what they did to you there? You're talking about this thing as if it's fact. You've never seen it. You've never touched it. You can't possibly experiment in any way to prove that this is true or not true. You can't falsify it. So this is purely an idea in your mind, because they talked about it enough. And then people accept it because everyone's talking about it, so they accept it as fact. But what if you go all the way down to the basics, all the way down to the foundation? Is this thing, this little, you could say, base level foundation that's down here, that everything is built on top of, like all those ideas, like turtles on top of turtles on top of turtles, all of the things that are built on top of this is just an assumption that you've never touched, seen, or verified. What if that isn't true? Here's a good one. What if the tests that they used to throw at people to scare them and to enact all their measures and to overstep the Constitution and personal rights and all the craziness, what if the tests aren't faulty? What if they have a lot of false positives? Well, we know this. But again, they have a grip on the mainstream. They have a grip on the narrative. They have a grip on the propaganda. So they just, they downplay it or they ignore it. And then the masses accept the numbers that they're told without going down to trying to even, you can't really verify it one way or the other, but you can at least verify to yourself that you can't verify it, right? The only thing that you know for sure in life is that you can't be sure about most things. Like there's a good Voltaire quote where it's like, uncertainty is an unpleasant condition, but certainty is absurd. And he said that in like 1700s or whatever. The majority of the world, and maybe a lot of things in your life, and I don't know for you in your life, so you have to go digging and figure that out. But a lot of things in your life are probably built on assumptions that you've never seen or verified for yourself. Obviously, on trend for now, with this new Omicron variant or whatever the hell they're saying, obviously, a lot of what I'm saying applies to that. But it actually goes far beyond that. If you really ask yourself, okay, what are my beliefs? How do I vote? How do I think? Why do I use certain words? How do I, associate with a certain political ideology or not or whatever? Have any of these things been verified? Like, have I even tried to dive into the history of this thing? At least in history, you can kind of go to disparate sources and you can come to some kind of consensus of like, maybe you're right. Like you can do a bunch of research and come to a place where you can at least discredit the certainty that they're saying and then become more skeptical, which is what we all need to do. And then some things you can literally verify for yourself. It's insane because if you saw the government, just bear with me, this thought experiment. If the government came out and said that everybody on, let's say December 10th, 2021, we all need to jump off of a second-story window at the same time, because that will then have enough gravitational force to shake the earth, which will then somehow destroy the newest COVID variant. Like some ridiculous thing, obviously. But the reality is here, you would literally have a percentage of the population that would do this. And if enough people talked about it and it reached kind of the decentralized consensus of a group of like millions and you could say billions of people, the way information can and the way COVID did, COVID was just a psyop, right? And it kind of took hold of a lot of minds, and then it spread like a virus mentally. And that was the real virus that people should have been afraid of. And they're just trying it again. They're trying again and again and again. They're going to keep trying it. You would have people that would literally do that on that date, and people would film it and document it, and it'd be this whole thing. There'd probably be a ton of memes about it, and there'd be a lot of people like me and a lot of Bitcoiners I know that would be straight up making fun of people, maybe even pleading with them to try to not do it. But again, you don't actually do anything to change people's mind online, and you don't do anything when you shame them or guilt them or even show them that they're wrong. You don't even change people's minds when you give them fact. There's research that shows that when you provide somebody with facts that contradicts their belief, they're more likely to believe their belief and not believe you. And, in a lot of cases, they attack you, or they say, well, you're wrong, or that's wrong, or whatever. Even if it's verifiable fact, it's crazy. This is human nature. It's very, very crazy. But so much of life in the modern world, which is why I tell people, you need to opt out. You need to opt out and be your own person, your own overman, your own superman. Have a worthy life goal, as Nietzsche said. Pursue that. Master your biology, your psychology, and have this idealized version of yourself, which is the overman or the superman, which I have in my mind. Is, I have this like vision of the person I want to be. And you pursue that daily in conjunction with some worthy goal. Just watch how your life becomes amazing. And then you look at the mainstream and you look at people that are afraid, and they're literally, I'm telling you, literally short of plugging a freaking thing in the back of their head. They're in the matrix. Then you see it. You see the plug into the back of people's head from the mainstream and the politics and whatever. You see it plugged into their head. They can't see it, but you see it. A few more notes here. Every day, the morons on TV Every day, the morons on TV pretend they know what they're doing, and they pretend to care about anyone but themselves or the polls. And every day I see it, I'm strengthened in my resolve. I'm reinforced in my research, thought, and planning that I've already done. It makes me stronger. And when I'm stronger, I'm happier. Now, if you've yet to reach this level, this overcoming of fear in the mainstream, then you got to get to work. You got to get on it. Try this. Now, there's obviously a lot of ways to do this, but like listening to this podcast and reading my newsletter, like religiously, make it just part of your training. And you can always email me for recommendations, book recommendations, whatever. Imagine this for a second. Replace the time you spend consuming fear porn and then read history, psychology, some philosophy, and then watch what happens. And the spoiler here is you won't care as the world around you destroys itself. You'll be happy and winning. And again, buy Bitcoin, swanbitcoin.com/Colin Stuckert. I use that to buy daily. I'm literally buying every single day, ups and downs. That's how I dollar cost average in. And we got a crazy deal going on right now. I will probably extend it because it's been pretty rough this year, and I want to do as much as I can to get premium superfoods into people's hands. Go to wildfoods.co and use code 2021 for you. That's what it is. 2021 for you. 33% off. It's the most aggressive discount. I was just like, this year, I'm not going to get creative. I'm just going to give people as much money back and or as much product as possible. Wildfoods.co. 2021 for you. One word, for 33% off. All your superfood. The most obsessively sourced, potent from nature, Mother Nature in all of her glory and power, potently into a powder or a cap. Whatever you need for your specific goals to help you thrive and optimize your life. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you got some value. Do me a favor, leave me a review over on iTunes and the Apple spot. It's not even called iTunes anymore. It's called Apple Podcasts. And I really appreciate that. Say whatever you need to say. If you have specific feedback for me about how awesome I am and how awesomer I could be, I always welcome that. You can find out where to reach me. Just go into one of the DMs or the Twitters or the IGs or whatever. That's going to be it for today. TheBetterHuman.co for the Better Human newsletter. That is twice a week. You don't want to miss it.